Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast. Where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me, one half of More Important Issues, Caleb Mitchell. Caleb, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Similar to last week where I said it's never a bad day to lose to Florida. It's definitely never a bad day to lose to Alabama. Never a bad week to do so. So it's going to be tough to bring me down. That's just the way life goes. I live and die by my team.
Well, there's an elephant in the room here, Caleb.
That's fine. Yeah.
You didn't wear black on Saturday.
I did kick the elephant out of the room in orange, by the way. But yes, go on.
You caved. I wondered if you were going to cave, and you were adamant on this very program with Landon here last week that you were going to keep up the black. And you didn't do it. And it didn't come back to bite Tennessee that you didn't go all black on Saturday. What went into the decision to punt on the all black, the dark mode attire on Saturday?
It was a tough decision. I'm a very petty person, so it felt petty of me to not wear white in the white section for the checker Neyland. It was like kind of like prove my point. They don't care what I have to say, but maybe when they look at a picture, they'll be like, "Why is that guy wearing black? It's not even a Florida color. I don't know what he's doing." I do have that awesome orange tracksuit, so that played a part in it. Of I can wear this with some orange and white Jordan 1s. That played a big part in it. I told Landon, I can't remember if it was on this show or if it was Thursday on the rate or on our show. I said, if they fix the microphones for the ref, if I can hear the ref on Saturday, they tell me they can, Caleb, you will be able to hear the ref call a play or call a call. I will wear orange. And Friday afternoon, I believe it was Friday afternoon, my brother got us 4 tickets in Y6, I think. So I got to go with 2 of my brothers. I have 3 brothers. I got to go with 2 of them. And I figured you'd be able to hear the ref from there, so I can wear orange because I'll be able to hear the ref on Saturday. I couldn't hear the ref on Saturday, but that was because of the piped-in noise. Yeah.
And that's pretty obvious, right? James, you can the piped-in noise from Neyland Stadium. You can hear that pretty clearly and piece together where it comes from and when they do it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's very impressive. They get the moments just right. The roars, the quiet down when a pass goes in the air from Jalen Milroe. I mean, they executed it perfectly. Whoever is on that deserves a raise. Whoever's working those hot buttons deserves a raise.
What was the experience like, in all seriousness? Was it fun? Was it better in the Florida game?
They were very close. I think just the way the first drive, Alabama's first offensive drive, was the loudest for however long that last 4 plays. I guess really 3 plays. The punt was probably decently loud, but the 3 plays where they're backed into second drive when they were backed into their end zone was the loudest I've ever heard Neyland. It was insane. I don't know if it matches up with, I wasn't there for Jalen Wright's touchdown against Georgia.
I was there. It's pretty loud.
Pretty loud. I heard it's the loudest it's ever been. There was a punt block in the 2013 Georgia game, returned for a touchdown in the south end zone, the west corner of the south end zone. And I was actually sitting in that corner. I felt Neyland shake in that moment. Like, it was crazy how loud it got during that. Oklahoma obviously was sustained loudness, but it was insane we've all seen the miscommunication. Like, you can tell when linemen cannot hear what the quarterback is saying. I don't think Jalen Milroe could communicate with anyone, headset players on the field in that first drive. And throughout the game, he seemed to struggle at times. And then that you had that snap back to him where no one else except for like the center knows that the play is going on. And it was just ruckus. It was awesome. It was I think I said on here that Florida was probably top 5 game crowd wise. Alabama's definitely top 5. I mean, maybe it helps to win. I'd probably say sustained crowd noise, probably number 1, Oklahoma for me that I've attended. Oklahoma number 2.
Are your ears still ringing? Were they ringing leaving the game?
My ears don't ring, but my head starts hurting.
Okay.
Like, I can't yell during games after the first quarter because when I yell, my head will pound. So I do a lot of clapping. I I bring the noise somehow.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, after this Tennessee game, as we do each and every week on these Tuesday night shows here, Caleb, I ask you, how much has your opinion changed about the 2024 Vols after this win 24-17 over Alabama on Saturday night?
As a team that's going to go compete every week, it's honestly not changed that much since Florida. Florida felt like the offense was really close. Got to hit on a few plays, got to execute better, mainly in the passing game. I mean, you can't really ask much more of Dylan Sampson. If he gets any more, and he's not in the Heisman conversation, burn it all down. So really not as an opinion of week to week how they're going to play. It really hadn't changed that much. I think when you have an events like that, you're going to be in it. If Tennessee's offense hits on 50% of these big pass plays, they're going to be a really, really lethal threat. You get back to 2022 quick scoring, right? So that really hadn't changed. Then you kind of sit back and you look and you're like, me personally, and I think a lot of Tennessee fans felt this way. You have that Arkansas loss. The Florida home win's always going to bring you up a little bit, but I think everyone was like, we've fallen short of where we wanted to be. And then you turn around and you look at this team's 6-1 with wins over Florida and Alabama. That's the stuff that makes Tennessee legends. Like this season could be what we remember Nico for, and he's not having the greatest year right now. So I mean, I think I feel more positive in that sense, but I feel about that. I think this offense is really close. What are you like? Do you think, am I crazy, or do you feel like it's almost there? Whereas Arkansas, you're thinking, where are they?
I wrote a lot today about the defense, and part of the reason, like this game, they held every game this season has been under 20 points. Like every game, like it just doesn't matter. Will Brooks, the shoestring tackle, was gigantic for this game. Something that'll be lost in the lore, but I mean, Jermod McCoy's red zone interception, that was huge. Tennessee's first in the nation in long scrimmage plays, 30-plus yard long scrimmage plays given up, and they've only given up one 40-plus yard play and nothing past that all season long. So they haven't given up any big plays really at all year. Post Peely, we talked about it last week, where I was like, I just don't think I love Keenan Peely. They're going to miss him somewhat, but I just think that the depth behind there, and you saw Caleb Perry play really well behind T-Lander, and I thought that combination was solid again against Alabama. I think that has clicked. Like, I think the defense is just, their floor is so high week to week that I think you can lose somebody, you can have some rough patches like at late in games against Arkansas and Florida, and like surrender a late touchdown. You're like, you can't do that. You got to clean that up. They're there. Like, the defense is just, they know exactly who they are. James Pierce is playing his best football right now. Boo Carter is playing his best football. Jermod McCoy is playing his best football. That ceiling, and they, I think, have figured it out. They know exactly what they are. The run defense is going to be there every week. They're number 2 nationally there. The offensive side of the ball, what I do think they're figuring out is the offensive line. Like, I think the offensive line, you didn't notice at all on Saturday, because they were rotating Campbell and Davis a lot at right tackle, and I think they figured that out. Campbell can't be playing 50-plus snaps a night on right tackle, and I think Lance Hurd has gotten better each and every week, and Cooper's been awesome all year, and Spraggs and Carrick are fine at the guard spots. So I think that has gotten better, and that will help Nico. I think wide receiver, they still haven't figured anything out. I still think Mike Matthews
think they're getting
really
open.
play. Well, I think part of it is, so Chaz Nimrod got open a bunch last week, right? Yeah. And then Chaz was a non-factor this week. So Chaz just couldn't come down with the ball. And Chaz, like, it's just one of those, was it more Nico? Was it more Chaz? Whatever, but he was getting open, so there's value there. He wasn't really a factor this week. The tight end stuff, like, you just never know how they're going to use their tight ends week over week. Ethan Davis got a little bit this week. Mike Matthews still just, quite simply, he's not playing enough. Like, it's you got to use the bye week to get Mike Matthews on the field. Like, Ryan Williams was targeted, 19 times in this game. So, like, Mike's got to play. Like, it's just, we're at the point now where he, especially with how banged up you are at receiver, Squirrel, that's the hardest one to me, because Squirrel dropped some, and he was clearly banged up on Saturday. Squirrel can't play right now, because it's just like, hey, man, you got to get right. We got to get your shoulder right. Whatever it is, we got to get you healthy and play Mike Matthews in the slot. Like, you just have to see what that looks like. He was playing in the slot earlier this year. Like, that, I think, needs to get cleaned up. Brew's got to get healthy. He had a good game. Dante, obviously their biggest big play threat. He has the biggest play of the day, the 55-yarder. But I just don't think they have any idea what the rotation is out wide. They still have not figured out what the right mixture of guys. Chris Brazzell, his goal line fade was awesome for Nico. So Nico had 3 important drives that I think were good for his confidence going into the bye. But I don't think they figured out that right back and forth in terms of how much do we run Dylan Sampson? What is our running back rotation like? Because I'm sure they would still like to play more guys. Dylan Sampson had like 26 carries here. He's past Jalen Wright for all of his carries in 2023, and you're just now over the halfway point. So I think
we probably did over rotate Jalen Wright.
I don't know.
To be fair,
I think part of the reason that they were so successful is because they were evenly rotating so much on running the football. That's why they were a better running team last year than they are this year. That it was this never-ending supply of just fresh bodies in there to run at these defenses, and I don't know if they don't trust Bishop and Selden or Lewis enough to evenly rotate.
Selden.
I don't know, but
and I don't blame them.
The bye week needs to be, hey, we need to get closer to that 3-man group, because I think Deshaun Bishop averaged like 7 yards to carry on Saturday. So I don't know. Dylan Sampson's just carrying the ball too much for my liking. I love Dylan Sampson. Like, to your point, he leads the SEC in rushing right now. But if you're playing the college football playoff game and you're thinking December, January for this season, Dylan Sampson's we got to start scaling back and getting ready for postseason football. Sure. And like this Kentucky front seven, they're going to hit hard. He's getting a lot of contact right at the line of scrimmage. I don't know. I think this offense has figured out that they're going to have some spurts. They're moving in the right direction, but I don't think 2022 is coming. I think you're going to have more of those kind of second halves mixed in with some of the first half stuff. Does that make sense? Where I think you're going to have a really good quarter where they hit on some bombs to Dante and maybe Squirrel, maybe Mike, whoever. But then I think there are going to be some quarters where still like they turn the ball over or they have a couple 3-and-outs and you're like, uh-oh, and they're putting the defense in a bad spot. To me, that's what I think you're going to see more of a back and forth where they weren't getting anything offensively for weeks. Now I think we're going to see more like, oh, awesome, here we go. And then here's another a quarter and a half of just not clicking. That's my gut.
Isn't that kind of always been Heupel's MO though? He's always had a quarter that hasn't been that you've thought this is an unrecognizable offense.
Yeah.
Or close to a quarter, maybe not in 2022.
Well, it used to be the first quarter when he jumped out on people. Like he's now it's the opposite.
Very weird.
But to be fair, they have moved the ball in their opening script the last 2 games, and they just
turnovers. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I agree. I think the Mike Matthews one is tough. He is what I was worried Boo Carter would be. He is a freshman who may not be ready for SEC ball. I don't know how many times I looked up when he was in the game and he was on his back, and I'm thinking you can't end up there. And I'm there's no doubt in my mind he's very talented. I mean, you've seen flashes of him. He's got to be, I think, just stronger. I mean, I'm not saying you need to go in there and blindside block someone and put them on their back, but you got to be stronger in those moments. You can't get jammed with line of scrimmage constantly and expect to play important downs. But I do want to see more Mike Matthews, and I think you have to, just because I think Squirrel White has to rest. And like going back to your Dylan Sampson point, you expect to be in the playoffs. And can Tennessee win without Squirrel White enough to get in the playoffs? Yes, they've pretty much done it up to this point. Yeah. So get back for the playoffs and let's hope the offense can explode with you coming back in. I do agree that I don't think it's close to clicking like Hendon Hooker had. Yeah. But I think
the roles were defined with Hendon Hooker. Like you just knew it was Hyatt and it was Brew and it was Ramel and Tillman. And then when Cedric went down, like you knew who your 3 were and you knew what the running back rotation was. It was just all clear. The roles were defined.
But I mean, really in 2022, it still did take probably. So did we go, was it Pitt, Akron, Pitt, Akron, and then Florida, I guess, in 2022.
Yeah, and then LSU. Because they played LSU in between. They played Florida by LSU and then Bama.
I don't know what the targets looked like in the Pitt game, but no one got open.
Well, Cedric had 20 plus
and
targets.
They threw it to Cedric Tillman, who just made plays because he didn't really get open in that 2022 Pitt game.
He was huge.
He's a monster. I mean, That's who I think Brew McCoy could be. I think we could throw it up to Brew more. And he kind of was that for Hendon Hooker when you look back at 2022 and Cedric Tillman goes down. I think it's encouraging you have guys getting open. I don't know if you ever truly fix some of the drops you've seen. Now the Squirrel one across the middle that he hopefully can't, not hopefully, I don't want him to be injured, but to not put up both hands there is insane. So hopefully it's because his shoulder hurts that bad. Like, hopefully he's not being lazy or dumb or whatever. I don't know if you truly fix all of these drops, which I did see the tweet this week, by the way, that Nico throws the ball too hard as well. And I'm thinking it's so insane. And I mean, Joe Milton threw the ball really hard, but they had to catch him in practice, or otherwise we would have.
Nico does have more juice on these throws than I thought he would have. Like, Nico does throw he throws some fireballs.
His ball outside the hashes is insane how hard he can throw it. And unlike Joe Milton, it's no knock on him. He just wasn't very accurate outside the hashes. Nico's are accurate. He puts it in areas guys can catch it. He's really good, 10 and short.
Yeah, Joe doesn't do the rollouts. Like, Joe can't do there. Joe couldn't have. And again, we're not dumping on Joe here, but like Joe couldn't do the rollout to the right, the 55-yard perfect stride like Dante throw there in the third quarter. Like, that's just not a Joe throw.
I don't
think he's a goal line fade to Brazel throw. That's a touch ball. Like that one. That's a hard throw.
Which I think it's a great throw, especially when you consider back of the end zone.
Yeah.
I made the point on Sunday night though. What's frustrating about this passing game is it's a lot on Nico. I mean, you look at that pass to Squirrel, like, it's unacceptable. Like, you gotta give your guy a chance, but he does give his receivers chances a lot. He has very, very similar throws to that Brazel throw, where it's only places that the wide receiver can catch it, and they have enough room and time to go make a catch. And it's usually an open field, so you don't want them diving for it. But at the end of the day, our wide receivers are getting hands on the ball often, and they're not making the big plays. And so I think there's a balance of our offensive line struggled, our quarterback struggled, and our wide receivers have struggled, and the passing game hadn't clicked. I feel like they're all getting marginally better. I think the offensive line made a huge jump this week. I think our wide receivers got more open. I think they did make some big catches. Brazel's catch was phenomenal. Did you know that I know you were sick on Saturday, which I hate. So I don't know how much of the game you really were like.
I mean, dialed into. We were medicated, but we were getting through it. Yeah.
Did you know they didn't confirm Brazel's touchdown?
What do you mean?
The call on the field just stood, which means there was not enough evidence to overturn it.
Oh.
I don't know how you can't confirm that touchdown. That's crazy to me.
I mean, it was a great catch, and it was a great throw, and that's kind of like, I think more than anything, it just showed in the 27-yard run by Nico. I think was huge from the third quarter, because I think that's just got to be part of his game, and part of what makes this hypo offense go is the quarterback just has to move. The quarterback has to run. The quarterback has to use his legs when things break down early. And Nico got more confidence there. So I think for me, I don't think we're going to see like wire to wire elite top 10 offense the rest of the way. But I do think in 2025, I'm a lot more optimistic that Nico's figured some stuff out and will be set up in a way where he got through the growing pains at this point, and he's going to get to the other side. Because some of these young quarterbacks, you look at Jackson Arnold and some of these other 5-stars, they don't get to the other side here. I think Nico is getting to the other side, where going into next year, you feel really good that he worked out the kinks here, and it's going to be all systems go, and then you're going to look closer to 2022 next year than this year. But I also think the defense is going to take a step back next year versus this year.
I think so. I think it's going to be better on the back end.
They're just losing so many guys. The front seven. The
front seven's going to sting, but your linebacking group, you'll be fine. And then, I mean, to be fair to that front seven, and I don't even know who has the opportunity to go at this point.
Bryson Eason, bringing in more Norman Lott, Mari Thomas, James Pierce, Josephs could go.
I can't.
Dominic Bailey
Josephs
could go.
Goes.
I would stay back if I'm Joseph. I mean, I don't know, because you're going to be the lead guy there, and I mean,
look at
Caleb Herring shined a little bit, but I don't know. It's not enough to be like, we're ready for just Herring and Ross. I don't know. I think Joseph's would benefit. I don't know.
I would be shocked. I mean, unless,
he's been really good. Joseph's been really.
He has. I just can't. It's one of those. Can you imagine if you were the premier guy? If you were getting the snaps James Pierce got, if you were in on every single third down and pass down, this defensive line, I don't know if Rodney Garner is recruiting midseason, but they just seem to be brand new names appearing every week. It's insane.
I mean, the interior is the one where they're going to have to go to the portal. Like, even with Hobbs, who I think is really good, Jackson Moy I think is going to be good. I think those are probably your starters next year in the interior. But they're going to need to add more bodies there because you're losing
sure.
a lot of talent. Because Eason, Lott, and Thomas have just been they're unsung heroes in the middle of that defense too, especially against the run. But what was your most reasonable fan reaction you heard from folks following the game, and what do you think was the most overblown reaction following the win over Bama?
I don't know if there was any reasonable reactions after this one. Listen, we beat Alabama. You are not expected to be reasonable people. There have been a healthy amount of people like, hey, we still may not beat Georgia. Let's pump the brakes. So I guess that's reasonable. I think for the most part, when you take away the emotions of the moment, I think everyone sees this team for what they are. This is going to be a defense first team, which I don't know if Josh Heupel meant to drop that on us as early as he did, but he dropped it early. I don't know if it was a warning shot. He's like, hey, this is coming. Just be ready. But this is going to be a defense first team. And then to your point, this offense isn't going to score 50 points a game. It's just not going to be who they are. I do think there's an expectation there, and I'm obviously leaning into a little bit of it, that this offense can take a massive jump. I don't know if it's a massive jump, but I mean, you hit on like 2 or 3 more of those deep balls and you're talking 6-9 points minimum, because you're looking at field goals, hopefully
there
not
was
50 yards
40
plus.
points on the table, right? I think Hubs talked about it on the VolQuest show, where it's like there was 40 points on the field for Tennessee on Saturday.
I haven't gone and rewatched the first half yet since Josh Pate said this. I watched it on Sunday. Josh Pate said he thought Tennessee had 24 points. They should have scored 24 points in the first half. I don't know if he's counting those missed field goals. They were both from 50 plus. Max Gilbert's a really good kicker. He's missed from 53 already going into that game. I told me and my brother talked about it. I said I would give him 50% on that. Like, he probably should have hit the first one. It was wide right. Second one he shanked. I'm not going to spot him that one. So
I need the reps, right? Like, you need the reps.
Yeah, but I think there's a reasonable understanding of who this football team is.
Mm-hmm. I think there is, and I think it's one of those. Like the Nico interception, right? Where it's a throw that he thought he could make running away, like he could get it off and get it into the end zone but it wasn't there, right? And there have been throws this season where Nico's got top 5 in the sport arm talent, and he's it's this fine line between, you want him to take chances, because that's what Peyton Manning did, right? Like, he led the NFL in interceptions his rookie year. He had to go through the great quarterbacks, the gunslinger types, like have to. Patrick Mahomes has thrown a lot of picks. He has thrown more picks right now than touchdowns here in the NFL this season. And the Chiefs are undefeated. I think part of what fans have to understand is, like, Nico is going to have to continue to go through growing pains the rest of the season. He's still going to have to throw some bad picks. He's still going to have to try these tight window throws, because eventually those are going to click, and that's what separates him from just any other average Joe, is he's going to hit those. And we saw it early in the year. It was against nobody a little bit early on, but you saw some throws where against Chattanooga and Kent State, where if he turns those kind of throws into throws against Kentucky on Saturday and stuff like that, like, that's a game changer for Tennessee. But I think he has to keep taking those shots. He has to keep throwing downfield. He can't lose confidence in those mistakes, with those fumbles, this, that, and the other. Like, he has to continue to be aggressive. So I think people who, like, want the offense to kind of go in a shell and just run the ball, play defense, I'm like, that's not good for his development. There's just no point in doing that. Like, Nico's got to continue being aggressive in the Heupel offense. If he wants to function at a high level in this offense at some point, the training wheels have to come off, and he has to make those mistakes, because then he makes those kind of throws to Dante running to the right, rolling out for 55 yards, because he's still trying and he's still being given the opportunity to make plays down the field, which is always going to be a staple of this offense. So I think you just kind of have to take them for what they are this year, and also feel good that, like, we have a defense that's so good that we're comfortable going for it on 4th down at our own 10-yard line. So it's like, let Nico keep taking shots, because this defense is one of the best in the country.
Absolutely. And I think to your point about the interceptions, this offense operates so high. I guess it's just so high powered without, I mean, you look at Hendon Hooker, he threw what, 2 interceptions in 2022? Is that it?
I think 5.
Why did I think was it SEC play he only threw?
Maybe
2?
it was SEC play, but I think he threw 5 total.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
But just he didn't turn the ball over. He was really elite, but also No, he threw 2 in 2022. Hendon Hooker.
Oh, he threw 5 total. Sorry, he threw 5 over 2
career.
years. So he had 3 in 21 and 2 in 22. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, you're good. I think just Hendon Hooker was so special that he had the ability to protect the football and still be dangerous. I think to your point of like, accept the interceptions, I want to see Nico give on one specific type of ball and more opportunities for the ball to be intercepted. I want to see him on those deep balls, put him in places that his receiver has a chance to make a play, not places where only his receiver has a chance to make a play. I think then
that's what Hendon Hooker did, right? Like Hendon didn't take chances. Like Hendon could not make that throw that Nico did rolling to his right. He was not an off-platform guy. Hendon was a machine in the pocket,
right?
But he didn't have that kind of arm talent. He was great at what he did, but Nico is just different. Like that's a different kind of skill set. Like he just didn't have that.
We know how talented Jalen Miller was, and the stark difference between how he threw on the run and Nico did on Saturday is crazy. I mean, he did not complete a lot of balls on the run, and if they were short checkdowns while he was escaping the pocket. But yeah, I'm with you. I want him to take more chances. For everyone that's upset about the interception, fair. It was a bad decision. It was a freshman mistake. Silver lining, it was a different freshman mistake than he's made previously on turnovers. He thought he had enough time to get the ball off. Probably still shouldn't have thrown it. Probably still would have been intercepted in the end zone if that's any consolation. But it was a different freshman mistake than we've previously seen. So maybe he's learning, maybe not, but he's not repeating. I don't think he repeated any mistakes in the Alabama game. The Florida game felt like he repeated that misread over the middle where he ends up throwing it into triple coverage, doesn't read the linebacker correctly. I would assume that's who his read was on in the Florida game. I can't remember. Did he throw a bad interception in the Arkansas game? Or was it just NC State?
NC State was the one he had it was literally the exact same throw that he hit against Chattanooga, and he tried it again over the linebacker against NC State and just went through it right to him. Yeah. So it was just one of those where he finessed it against Chattanooga, but he did not make that throw against NC State. I think he only had 2 fumbles against Arkansas, right?
That sounds right. I'll have to.
Or was Oklahoma the one that he only had 2 fumbles and no picks?
Oklahoma had 2 strip sacks for sure.
Then maybe it was 2. Yeah, they're all blending together now.
He does have 4 on the year, 8 TDs. But I think he's looking like I've said. I don't know what the percentage is, but I think he looked better in the Alabama game. If it was 1%, it was 1%. Sure. But he's getting better, and I think this offense is just very, very close to being more effective. We're still going to see 3 and outs, which are frustrating, but that's a Josh Heupel offense. Like he's going to do it because if he sees a good look in 1st and 10, he's going to sling it downfield. It's not going to necessarily be a high percentage route if he sees a good look. Like as much as he plays down in distance and plays the analytical football, he also will take a shot if he likes it.
Yeah. Key moment of the game you're still thinking about a couple days later from the Alabama game, Caleb?
The Dante Thornton pass was probably the first nail in the coffin for Alabama. When that hit, that put Tennessee in the red zone. Give it to Dylan Sampson. He's going to score. That put Tennessee up 14-10, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the one that kept it close, but I think it was, if you're Kalen DeBoer, if you're Alabama staff, you're probably thinking, oh, crap. Like that they haven't been able to do that successfully all game, and all of a sudden, here we are.
You didn't think it was 7-0, being up only 7-0 after Tennessee missed 2 field goals and turned the ball over 3 times in the first half, where I was like, man.
Oh, they had to go into halftime and just trash every cigar in that locker room. Just like, we're not smoking this tonight.
I mean, honestly, that's when I was like, oh, I think Tennessee's going to win this, because I had
a good feeling.
You just cannot blow. Like on the road, it's kind of like reverse from 2 years ago, where Tennessee was in Alabama. Or I guess just 1 year ago, but 2 seasons ago, whatever, where Tennessee could have been up 3 scores if they they finish in the red zone better in Tuscaloosa. I don't think Alabama comes out of the second half down 3 touchdowns and goes deep, because I remember they scored like in 2 plays and cut the lead to 1 score right out of the gate. And you're like, oh, Tennessee's in trouble. They obviously get shut out in the second half, and it all unfolds that way it does. But I don't think Bama not being up like 17-0, 10, like even 13-0, 20-0, based on what Tennessee did in that first half, because that was awful. Like, you made the case that was the worst offensive half of Tennessee football all year. Like even worse than anything we saw in the Florida game. Like the first half was pretty brutal. But to only be up 7-0 to me was like, oof. You're really that's not how you went on the road in the SEC. Like, you cannot squander the amount of opportunities that Tennessee gave you.
Yeah, they had to be absolutely sweating. Did not like the position they were in. There's no way. Another, I guess, not a big moment, but a big drive was that 91-yard touchdown drive that Tennessee scores their first points.
Mm-hmm.
They went 91 yards in the second drive of the second half. And to your point, they haven't been effective all game. And then Alabama punts it down to the 9. You're thinking, this is not good. We're going to lose this field position battle. And Tennessee marches down the field, scores a touchdown. I think the biggest play of the game, outside of maybe Will Brooks' interception that allowed Tennessee fans to light up a cigar while the play clock was rolling for the first time in 2 decades, was probably James Pierce's sack on 3rd and 10 that started Tennessee's field position battle that ended up allowing them to go up 7. So it went Alabama punted after that. I think Tennessee punted first. No, sorry, Tennessee had just scored. Alabama then punts. Tennessee has to punt after that one. Alabama goes for it, which is insane to go for it on 4th down there. Everyone's like, that's a free offensive play, but it's 4th and 22. It's not a free offensive play. You're going to lose that 9.7 times out of 10. You're going to lose 4th and 22.
It's also a crazy play. There was a crazy play call that had no chance on 4th and 22. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing there.
I get what people are saying. 4th and 2 there with plenty of time. Sure, roll the dice. Let's find out. That was awful. That was a bad coaching. What was the coaching decision that you and Landon were really on? Billy, you're not going for it. I think this was the worst decision.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the Napier one to me was worse, because I think
this one though was it.
I don't think Alabama had good odds winning the game either way at that point, but like Florida could have just won the game outright. Like, they had pretty good odds. Like, that was a coin flip. I think Bama would have needed a lot of help still to drive down the field on this Tennessee. And based on what we've seen from Milroe and everything else, the odds were not good.
You're not wrong about that. It wasn't 50% for sure, but Tennessee is in field goal range right there. They go up 7. The best you can do is essentially go to overtime or have a chance to make a Billy Napier mistake, rather than you punting it, potentially flipping the field. Then you're talking, can we get a turnover? You have 3 timeouts to burn. And then you still had, I think that was outside the 2-minute warning as well.
Yeah.
No,
it was under the 2-minute warning, I think.
4th down came just inside the 2-minute warning. Yes. Yeah. That blew my mind. But that leads to that. Tennessee kicks the field goal, goes up 7. And at that point, I'm thinking, the way this game feels, there's no way Alabama goes 75 yards and scores a touchdown. And then they throw an interception to one Sir William Brooks.
That was, Will Brooks, he tied a team high in tackles with Jermod McCoy with 8. The shoestring tackle, I think, was actually even bigger than the pick itself.
Oh, yes.
But Brooks is the 3rd highest graded ball defender through 7 games this season. Joshua Josephs and Jermod McCoy are the only ball defenders graded higher on PFF than Will Brooks.
I don't know how much you've really examined Will Brooks' play. I'm interested to get your thought on this. I told Landon on Sunday night, I think Will Brooks still has a level he can improve. He's always in the right position. He doesn't get beat deep often. It feels like, similar to the last play that he makes there, feels like he could come up and play the ball a lot more if he just has that level of confidence for 4 quarters. There's one other interception in that game. I think he at least gets a pass breakup if he plays the ball instead of the man. And so, as good as Will Brooks been, which has been a big part of why Tennessee is sitting where they're at 6-1 in playoff contention, I think he could be even better somehow. And this is a guy that I do not think will play on Sundays. And that's no knock on him. It's just part of that is being the top 0.1% of athletes in the world.
I'm not doubting the Vestavia Hills legend, Will Brooks, and what he wants to do in the next level. I'm not gonna put a ceiling on the Willie B experience here going forward, because
he does have the PLL. I don't know if they play on Sundays, but that's also in the cards. So
it's true. Maybe him and Tyler Buckner team up. Who knows? They take over the PLL. I I don't know. I think one of the things that does help too in the safeties aspect of it is in years past, it's just been like, I think the top 3 snap getters last year were Wesley Walker, Jalen McCullough, and Tamarion McDonald. And it wasn't even close. Like, they gobbled up so many snaps, and they didn't rotate at all back there. This year, like, Will Brooks has been really good, but they've been able to rotate and keep those guys fresh. So Banks has rotated. Christian Charles is healthy for the first time all season long in his Tennessee career, which has been huge for them, and he's settled in at safety. He's been good. So I think having Jacoby Thomas, who's been good, as in his thing, like where he's just up the line, he hits hard. He has a skill that is valuable for Tennessee, but he doesn't need to play 40 snaps. Will Brooks doesn't need to play 40 snaps. Andre Turrentine doesn't need to play 40 snaps. So I think one of the things that helps Brooks and Turrentine, especially this year, and Banks on that back end, is he has 4 guys he can trust with those 4, and they rotate. Absolutely. And I think that's been helpful too. Is like, I don't think Will Brooks has to be he has to find that next level, because I just think Tennessee is, oddly enough, pretty deep on that back end, and that's really the first time we've seen Banks rotate that much back there, and it's working. It doesn't even include John Slaughter or Idris Farouk or some of these talented younger blue chippers. It's those 4, and it's working.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. He doesn't need to find that next level, and I think that's a part of Tim Banks' MO is my safeties will not get beat over top. I mean,
no,
they will turn their hips away from the field and turn and sprint before they get beat deep. Like they're keeping everything in front of them. So I think that's part of that MO. But he's been so good, and he's been in the right position so many times, and he's been close to. There was a Florida play where I was pretty frustrated. He didn't play the ball because I saw it as a pass breakup or interception there, and he plays the guy. Again, not knocking him. He's been Tennessee's best safety by far, and came up big on Saturday. But I think I view it as exciting, as I'm like, I could see Will Brooks having 2 or 3 more interceptions this season.
And, I could see 2 more for him.
And I do think part of that is being more aggressive. But I mean, which this goes to you talking about Jacoby Thomas, and Andre Turrentine did a really good job of it on Saturday.
He had a much better game than Florida. Florida was rough, and he bounced back.
Fly downhill. They fly downhill, and I love that. I said that going into the season. This secondary is fast and physical, and they're going to be much improved. Do they get beat at times? I do still think they struggle, especially in those zone matchups or man. I think they still struggle, especially stuff going across the middle. The linebackers get way too shallow very often. But I think they're gonna go make plays if the ball gets caught, or they're gonna go make plays if the ball gets outside the tackles. They're fast and physical, and that's gonna make up a lot of ground.
And Boo Carter is a true freshman. It's just getting better every week. Like he's a beast.
Fearless.
Yeah. And he caused a great penalty on Saturday night. He got an Alabama player to react.
I can't believe that wasn't offsetting.
No, Boo's built different, man. The man, he's gonna get, like, over the 3 to 4 years he's at Tennessee, man. Boo Carter is gonna be he's gonna be in a lot of these because he's just great. Like, I think he's a confident dude, and he's not afraid, but he also backs it up. Like Boo Carter, he backs it up, man. But I think you kind of have to be at that position, like when you're star and you're flying around the way he does.
Tyrann Mathieu, you got to be the honey badger.
Yeah,
everyone has,
and he really is,
which
is great. It's fun having a player like Boo and on your defense.
Right.
Fact or fiction, Caleb? Kentucky will test Tennessee out of the bye. And before you answer this, I saw this on Hog Sports earlier today, reading the Arkansas site, and they had this article about the SEC teams coming out of the bye week this season and what that looks like. Do you know off the top of your head, what would you guess the SEC teams coming out of a bye this season has been? Their record.
Just knowing that this was an article, it's got to not be good. That's hard because I know Georgia, Alabama both came off a bye. So that's 1-1 right there. Obviously, no, Tennessee's 0-1. Who's had a bye week? Did Texas have a bye this past week before losing to Georgia?
I don't think they've had theirs yet. Oh no, they did. Or did they have a bye before Georgia or no?
I
don't remember.
I can't remember now.
They had the list on there, but I'll go ahead and tell you.
Yeah, do it because I'm going to try to do this and it's going to be long. So yeah,
4-7.
Wow.
4-7 coming out of buys right now for SEC teams.
The SEC, which obviously they're always going to play SEC teams after their bye. I think that's normally how it would go. I mean, really the SEC has eaten each other alive this year. And I think I don't necessarily think the fans will think this. I think the people who are worried about how much money they're making, the administrators, they're going to look at this and go, this ruins the 12. We wanted 6 teams in the 12-team playoff. This ruins it. Don't touch it. This is so much fun. This is why we watch college football.
You said don't touch it. They need to add a game. Like, to not having a 9-game schedule might screw some good. It could screw Tennessee out of a CFP spot right now. Not having a 9-game schedule where there's some teams that beat each other up a little bit more. We might have like 4 10-2 teams, and they're not all getting in. That's a possibility right now.
No, you are right that I said that though when you added Oklahoma, Texas. You got to go to 9 games. I cannot believe it didn't. I just meant don't. They're going to do something more to ensure more, because 9 SEC games certainly doesn't ruin the sport for me, and I don't think it should for any fan. But I think they will. Who knows what they could potentially pull off? But every move that felt like they're just trying to get SEC teams more feels like it's watered down, the right word? I don't know. Just not. I haven't enjoyed the moves that they've made in that regard. I don't love the 12-team playoff because I don't like the non-Power 5 automatic bid.
Yeah.
I think they should be separate. I think they should play for their own championship. I know a lot of people that play at those will be like, oh, no, we want to play. You don't have a chance. Like, be realistic with your opportunities. Chattanooga doesn't play for a college football playoff spot. Why should you? Vastly different levels than Tennessee and MTSU. Vastly different levels.
But there is part of me that's like, seeing Navy or Army upset like Penn State in the first round of the college football playoff, or Ohio State or something like that, would be delightful. I'm absolutely here for it.
If it was Navy or Army too, which we may get a chance to see that, I would love it more. I don't know how much joy I'll get seeing Boise State do it, because we've seen them do it before. The Fiesta Bowl was one of my favorite.
You wouldn't enjoy Boise State just going into Austin and beating Texas in the first round? I don't know, man.
I think I would get the same level of joy from Boise State doing it as Kurt Signetti in Indiana.
Well, they're enemy number 1. Like, I've seen some Indiana over Tennessee stuff. So sorry. Great job all around, but we are all Husky fans here in Knoxville, Tennessee this week, because that needs to end, because that schedule and everything else. Like, if you want to watch like a community turn on a team, like if the college football playoff, we were in a situation where 10-2 or an 11-1 Indiana with that schedule gets in over a 10-2 Tennessee team. Whoo! That, goodness gracious. I hope we don't get to that point.
I think that goes into the point of like, they're not overhauling the right spots. Like, there needs to be more uniform scheduling. It doesn't need to be, how can we water this down more so our SEC teams get in? Because I think that was the goal of the 8-game schedule, was our top 4 will run through it. They'll all be 10-2, 11-1. We'll be fine. I think that was the goal, rather than saying we need to get our top 4 one more win, our top 6 one more win.
Now we have 10. Now we're gonna have like 6 10-2 teams.
Yeah, and one's LSU, who people are raving over, who, let's not forget, they did lose to USC this year.
Yeah, but undefeated in conference play.
That's impressive. It's the same thing with Alabama. Yeah, going into this game, Alabama was in the national media was not going to lose to Tennessee, and I thought Alabama should have been favored. That's fair. Going into that game, I thought Alabama looked like the better overall team. That's the same team that lost a 28-0 lead against Georgia. Did they win the game? Sure, but they lost that lead in an embarrassing way. Also the same Alabama team that lost to Vanderbilt on the road.
Yeah.
Really at home, if we want to be honest. Alabama's a really good football team with a lot of really bad football team in them. And I think that is the case for a lot of teams this year.
I just feel like if you get swept by the state of Tennessee, you don't get in the playoff.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. You can play Memphis as a playing game.
Oh, man, that they had a lot of juice here early in the year, beating Florida State. That looked like a big win early on. And man, they have only one loss, and you don't hear a thing about Memphis anymore.
That's their Conference USA, right? Are they
AAC?
AAC, that's right. That's right.
For who?
Yeah.
There's no point in learning all this. It's like it's like the whole Josh Pate thing where it's like let's just fast forward to like 2 years from now when we actually have the final boss here and we know what it's going to be, because this stuff is just like, what are we doing? Like the SEC Big Ten schedule, like yeah, do that where we all agree to play one Big Ten team and one like that makes sense. Like if you're going to do
I'll
that,
be okay with that if you didn't do a 9-game schedule. If you did that, I'd be okay with that.
I think they're going to do a 9-game plus that.
That would be better for me, but
it's just going to require a lot more money from the networks, like to do it. It's like if you want us to do 9 SEC games plus a Big Ten game, even though it's kind of hilarious, we're like, oh, if you want us to do that, it's like, I mean, Georgia's out here playing Clemson. Like you might be Minnesota, you might get Purdue here if you're Tennessee. Like, are you really that like adding Purdue onto your calendar is that much worse than adding Kent State? Come on now.
Right. I'd rather play the Purdue if I'm a
100%.
player as well. Like there is a vast difference between Purdue and Kent State. Could Kent State go beat Purdue? Probably not this year, but maybe when they went to a bowl game in 20.
Kent State though,
that one,
they had the number one
might.
offense in 2020 or 2021 in the country. Sean Lewis, man.
That's another thing people won't remember. It's crazy. I know this year's been wild. It's hard to keep up with, but Notre Dame lost to NIU.
Yeah.
That happened. And
Notre Dame getting in 11-1 will drive me nuts because they're in guaranteed. Like Notre Dame in previous years, I think they've been because like I have the
would
South
that
hates
not
Notre Dame.
Be awesome though if they didn't get in 11-1 because that loss is NIU? Because I think they should be punished for that.
Yeah, I will say though, I think it's funny because I think Notre Dame fans do this themselves, but I do think Notre Dame is a great story of overachieving in modern college athletics and recruiting and like getting a bunch of 4- and 5-star kids to South Bend, Indiana with their academic restrictions, things like that. Like, I think they overperform. Like, I think Notre Dame, like, even when they got blasted by Alabama in the national title, I'm like, that's pretty good in modern college football that they are able to get to that point. Like, it's really hard to be as steadfast, good, and solid as Notre Dame has been in the modern just college football landscape. And I want to give them their flowers, but then we go a little bit too far where we're like, oh, Notre Dame can do this. And I'm like, well, no, they're never going to win the national title. Let's stop. Let's go ahead and stop that one.
I think there should be a rule for Notre Dame where, yeah, they get to play on NBC every week, but they also are never allowed to be ranked in the top 15 preseason. Every time they're ranked top 15 preseason, they have the school worst loss. Like it's crazy. They're just, that's an interesting point that I will think on because you're probably not wrong, especially when you look at from 2000 to 2024.
Mm-hmm.
They might be one of the more consistent teams. I mean, Alabama, that run. Okay, well, let's look at Alabama pre-2007, please. Mm-hmm. So you're probably not wrong about that. The problem is they're overrated every single year.
Yeah. It's like they're somewhere in the 5 they're somewhere in like the 5 to 15 range every year. Yeah. They're just never going to be 1 or 2. Like,
but also, I think they would fall back a lot farther if the AP voters didn't just. I think if you're gonna do preseason rankings to week 5 rankings, then after week 5, you should scrap them all together and start over. Because after week 5, there's teams that hang around the top 15, top 10, top 5 sometimes, just because the preseason voters are like, well, I mean, we had them number 2 in the country, so they can't possibly be number 17.
Yeah,
and they put NIU in the top 25 only because they beat Notre Dame, then they lose to Buffalo the next week. It's like, maybe you all shouldn't have put so much thought into your preseason rankings.
Yeah.
It's crazy. AP voting cracks me up. It's fun to talk about, but it's always just a crapshoot. It's dumb.
Final thing here. What is the one thing you would advise if we got Hypo on the podcast right now and you had the opportunity to advise him on one thing to focus on with this team and clean up over the next 2 weeks? What would it be?
Oh man, I joke about a lot of things I would do differently. What would I genuinely tell him to do? I think the pass game play calling could be friendlier to our wide receivers and quarterback, redshirt freshman quarterback. Do we throw it? We'll do like 2 or 3 5-yard routes, whether it be hitches or those quick outs. We'll be successful. Looks like we're building confidence, throw a deep shot, and then we'll go away from it for a quarter and a half. Like, no, just keep throwing. How many times has Brew McCoy been stopped on a 5-yard hitch? And more often than not, he gains 7 to 10 yards on them. I think the play calling could be friendlier to cheap's not the right word, but like the cheap yardage. I don't feel like Tennessee does a good job of earning the cheap yardage. That's where I feel, and I think that's probably because Tennessee is talented, and so they try to earn the, I guess, difficult yardage. They try to earn the bigger shots sometimes. I think the cheap yardage, though, I mean, you make Dylan Sampson, just by nature of the league Tennessee plays in, and he has to earn every inch. But I don't feel like and then you look at, I know we did a lot at Oklahoma. Where have the tight end outs gone? Those quick little outs with them. In my opinion, that's a cheap 5 yards you can gain on first or second down that we don't utilize very often.
It's funny you say that, because I think what I would do, because the tight end stuff, Miles Kitzman, I think the Miles Kitzman stock has dropped significantly over the last couple weeks. I mean, that non-block with the Samson
that was a
fumble,
tough look.
Yeah, we're at a point now where I just don't understand, because Ethan Davis is just a Swiss Army knife, and you're seeing how these other tight ends are, like, we're in a tight end renaissance era in terms of these mismatches, like the Kyle Pitts of the world, right, in college, where it just feels like the Brock Bowers, the Kyle Pitts, the Darnell Washington. It feels like Ethan Davis should be able to find a place somewhere in the slot, somewhere out wide. Like, I don't understand why a kid as talented as Davis is not there's not 2 to 3 designed, like, get the ball to Ethan Davis, the close ones, because you want to build up Nico's confidence. Like, he's perfect for those non-deep shots, like those 5 yard outs, and like even just some inside slants. He's just a bigger bodied guy, good hands. Like, we've seen, like, what was that? The spring game last year, Nico's first spring game, where he had that great play on the sideline where Nico found him on the right-hand side, kind of like what he did with Dante Thornton. Honestly, it was kind of a similar play. I would have Ethan Davis as something like, we got to get Ethan Davis going here in the second half of the season. The other thing I would do, Caleb, is, look, man, if it's not Cam Seldon because he's banged up, like, Peyton Lewis, get ready, man. We're getting you in the rotation, because I am just steadfast in the Sampson carries. I am terrified of losing Sampson at the end of this season because he's so banged up. Remember Kerryon Johnson at the end of the Auburn season, where Auburn had to play Georgia, Alabama, Georgia in the SEC title game. Yeah. And Kerryon got hurt in the SEC title game, and obviously it blew up and Auburn lost. But Auburn beat Georgia and Bama back-to-back, and Kerryon was awesome, and Kerryon carried that team with Jarrett Stidham.
85 carries?
Yeah, and that is all it goes through my mind every week now with Tennessee, is like, I understand Dylan he is an elite running back, but you cannot keep this up. Like, his carry count is crazy. He's third in college football right now, nationally. Third of everybody in carries. It's too much. Like, it's just.
You also have Nico.
Yeah,
we got to run Nico more. He wants to run. Let the tiger out of the cage. Like, he wants.
Well, I mean, I just want, like, I'm not saying let's, like, 10 carries for Sampson. I'm just saying, like, 18. Let's go. Let's shoot for 18 to 20.
That's fair.
And then, like, 8 to 10 for Bishop, who averaged 7 yards to carry this game on Saturday. And then, like, 3 to 5 Seldon or Lewis or something. Like, one drive to see what you have there. But it's just too much Sampson. And I'm terrified of how this is going to go down the stretch here, because it's a lot of carries, man. He's taken a lot of shots. And this is the worst offensive line Tennessee's had run blocking.
Yeah. He was banged up against the Alabama game, which is crazy that he went into the fourth quarter with a hitch in his step and did what he did. It's quite remarkable. He is going to be a lot of Tennessee fans' favorite Vol when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Can I throw out another thing I'd like to see Tennessee do that drives me? This isn't specifically for this team. This is just Josh Heupel. Please do it 5 snaps a game, maybe, if that. Why do we not have a single set with 2 backs in the backfield?
You missed the Princeton fan days.
Yes, but I preferably a running back with a threat of handing the football off outside.
Well, Cam Seldon has the exact same measurables. I think, did I tell you all that? Where if you look at their height and weight, he has the exact same height and weight.
That's awesome.
Princeton did. They don't look the same, like, build-wise.
It's crazy
but,
that, yeah. But I just think that I do think Nico needs to be given more opportunities. He got some looks at read option plays. He got some looks at some QB called run plays. I think one that was not even a read. He showed the running back the ball, but he pulled far too quickly for it to be a read. But when I'm looking at Tennessee, I'm going, they have to milk the clock. They can't put this ball in the air. You want Dylan Sampson up. well, we know where that football's going now. Like, we have no reads to make. We've got to play our man here and then go tackle Dylan Sampson. It vastly changes what the defense has to do. And it's one of those things that, can the defense still make a good play? Sure, but you're making them think for a second when you have two guys in the backfield. And this isn't the Jalen Hurd, Alvin Kamara backfield by any means, but that drove me nuts. You have two all-pro NFL running backs. People can say what they want to say about Jalen Hurd. He would have been an all-pro NFL running back had he stayed healthy. He wasn't too big to play running back. There's a guy that has ran for 1,500 yards for like 10 straight seasons. That is his size. He got bad advice, but we never lined him up in the backfield together. And we had Josh Dobbs. I mean, if you run the triple option one time, put it on tape. Teams have to prepare for it. That's a lot of time dedicated to it. Then you have to get ready for it on the, you know how many fake injuries you would have if you rolled out two running backs and they start panicking and trying to figure out who to get on the field. I mean, you think Lane Kiffin was bad. Like that, it would be all over the place.
Yeah.
I hate it. I just want to see two running backs.
I'll go and tell you, I don't think we're seeing that this year.
No, we're not. I don't think Josh Heupel will ever do it with two real running backs. You're right about the Princeton Fant, but I don't know.
You know what I thought Heupel would do, because we saw so much 12 personnel earlier? I thought we would see 4 receiver sets a lot more. I thought we would see Brew, Squirrel, Mike, and I mean, I just thought you would try.
I'm with you. Yeah, I think
we haven't seen it at all.
Yeah, that's frustrating for me. It does when it's Ethan Davis out there. I'm a little more tolerable of it, but it's frustrating to be so high-powered passing, like that's your goal, and you don't have 4 receivers on the field at times, especially on obvious passing downs. What are we hiding? Just throw football to a receiver.
To your point, it's Davis. That's fine with me. Davis has been fine in the slot.
Yeah.
Stays too. Stays. I think it was Stays who drew the pass interference call, right? The game on Saturday.
Yeah, I know that's not an easy catch to make at that point, but he also could have caught a touchdown pass. I think it hit him in the right shoulder.
Stays is it's one of those where if you had told me before the year that if you had said you either get these 3 that they're rotating here a lot, or another just like full only Jacob Warren and Miles Kitselman, who do you think would have the better year? I would have said before the year this trio, but I think last year's duo of McCallan Castles and Jacob Warren was better than what we've seen this year.
McCallan Castles is very underrated. Jacob Warren did his job.
Yeah.
They were very consistent.
Yeah. Which I would not have guessed, though. That duo has been better than this trio this year.
They weren't as good in the run game. They were good enough, but they weren't as effective.
Yeah.
We were talking about fake injuries, the Alabama fake injury.
Pushing back on the field where they fall over, yeah.
He was also, I tweeted this, it was very, very poetic in my mind. He was the 12th man on the field. So I don't think a referee would, if that guy just fell at the snap like he did, I don't think that play gets blown dead anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the illegal substitution call, which Matt Austin, I can't stand him, by the way. He is the most annoying human being on the he has the worst job. An official in the worst job. It's the guy that has to go on and defend the officials. But just about every questionable call that went Tennessee's way, he was very happy to. And I know I'm not like, oh, he hates Tennessee. I don't know the guy. He may or may not. But it's just very annoying to hear every questionable call go against Tennessee in his mind. He's like, I don't know about that. Like the James Pierce, it was close. The James Pierce play was close.
Yeah.
But I mean, he gets on there and he's not shy about it all. He's like, he's lined up in the neutral zone. He gets off maybe a little early. And I'm like, well, you just use the word maybe. So do you throw that flag? Because
I'm also a big believer in like in the moment. Like, what did you think in the moment? Like, if it's a 50-50 call, I think we should go to what did it feel like as you watched it happen? Yeah. And as I watched Pierce, I thought he timed it perfectly. That was my initial reaction. But obviously, when you break it down super slow, you're like, oh, was he a hair?
But also, that Alabama center has that thing that he does where he goes down, up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that ball all night, not just that exclusive play, moved before the snap.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not saying they should have called him for it. Don't mishear me. But when you look at that, I don't know how much he really, I mean, he was lined up. We line up in the neutral zone all the time. I can't believe
it could have been worse. We could have gotten the officials from Texas, Georgia on Saturday night.
I hate how it happened because I think they got the play right. I also hate how they have a video of the official looking at the scoreboard.
Yeah.
That's a bad look.
The whole thing's bad. Like it's but I also say, man, it made me think like we've talked like we dance around it so much, but the fact that we have not played Ole Miss since 2021 is kind of annoying.
Crazy.
Like it just would have been so much fun. I like it would have driven us nuts in the moment, obviously with the fake injuries and everything else. But the fact that we have not gotten part 2 of Ole Miss Tennessee with how much we talk around both of these schools right now and everything,
right.
I don't know. I feel like we need that back.
Quick personal story on the Texas, similar to the Texas game, because I say at the end of the day they got the call right. Circumstances how it happened suck. There's nothing in the rules about reversing that call. Like everyone's like, I've never seen that happen. Yeah, because refs aren't going to change it. No matter if they're wrong or right, you rarely see a ref go back on it. And I mean, that's somewhat like you do got to stick with your call. I had a ref when I coached high school soccer. We committed a foul. It was a PK. The rule had changed, though, that if the goalkeeper brought the player down in the box with his hands, as long as he was playing the ball, it was not a red card. The player didn't have to leave the field. And guy goes down, ref red cards him. And I'm on him immediately. That's no longer a red card. The rule changed. And he goes, no, coach, that's not. And I'm like, no, I promise I will pull it up. I had a rule book on my phone, like the PDF. I was like, I will pull it up right now and show you. And if you show me that in the rule book, I will change the call. Pull it up, show it to him. He goes, he said, that's not how I interpret it. I interpreted that he didn't play the ball. I said, well, you didn't say that in the original argument. So I don't believe you. I think you're just justifying your call right now. And he had the power to reverse it. He could have reversed it. He should have reversed it based on what he told me before. So, I mean, there is something there. I hate that it happened because fans threw trash on the field.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, it sets a precedent to a degree, maybe, but fans already did that crap. Like that wasn't going to happen. It's not going to happen more or less now.
Can you imagine if something like that happened at Tennessee?
Well,
like maybe even back in 2021, like if something like that happened in 2021, I would hate to think what the response would be on Twitter and everything else.
Did you see imagine? Joel Klatt today?
Yeah. What are we doing? Doing?
He's mad that an 18-year-old also, he outed himself, not a cigar guy. There is a massive population of the cigar community that will absolutely dog you if you light your cigar with a lighter rather than a match.
Interesting.
I was at a cigar bar in Charleston, South Carolina, and I went to light my cigar with a nice cigar lighter, like one of those like the windproof ones, like very nice. It's my cigar lighter. I enjoyed a lot. And these like 3 or 4 old men just dogged me for an hour about how I shouldn't smoke nice cigars because that ruins it, blah, blah, blah. So
interesting.
Yeah. So he outed himself.
Lacey's not a fan. Lacey the dog, she's out on Joel Klatt. Caleb Mitchell, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at More Important Issues and Fox Sports Knoxville this week?
Yeah, it's a bye week, so I'm sure a lot of just enjoying the Alabama win. So if you want to do that once again, we will be live on air Thursday starting at 8 p.m. We'll go all the way to 10. Beyond that, we'll be back Sunday, of course, but we won't be recapping any game. And I don't know how much football are you going to watch this week? Because we're going to the mountains this weekend. And
what mountains?
We're just going up to Smoky Mountains. But we decided.
I was gonna say because with everything going on, we were gonna go to like the weekend that everything happened. We were gonna go to Asheville. We go to Asheville a lot. It's just like, man,
that's
just
our normal spot's Hot Springs, North Carolina.
Yeah,
which was decimated, so we couldn't go stay there. So we found a place in near the park and probably do like sunrise there. Probably do depending on the weather, do a hike. But I'm like, I would love to just sit and watch college football all day, but it's also gonna be nice to actually be able to go and do activities. So I'll probably do that and then maybe catch some night games. Yeah,
there's not a lot. It's not a great slate this weekend.
No.
I have to do it like for the Pod Divided tomorrow. I'll do more of my deep dive, but it's not a great slate. It's not like you're going to be missing a whole lot here. Georgia's off. I'm looking at the top 25. Like, I don't need to be by my TV for Texas Vandy or I guess LSU at A&M is probably the one that I'm going to be most locked into Saturday night.
Which is night game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that one will be on.
That has ramifications for Tennessee. Like I'm watching the games that affect Tennessee and the CFP on.
See, I would like to find a restaurant for the Notre Dame Navy game.
There you go.
I would like to watch that game. Beyond that, I'm with you. I would like to see if Florida State can somehow beat Miami. I think Miami.
I am not watching a second of Florida State football. I
won't watch it, but I'll follow it. I'll keep up.
Well, that's true. Miami, they only have Miami games. This is a great who's stronger, Florida State's awfulness or Miami's propensity to make every game 50-47. Like which one actually comes through in that game?
I mean, don't forget they almost lost to a team that did lose to Florida State.
Dude, they almost lose every week. They love it.
Crazy.
Miami loves almost losing. It's their favorite thing.
They do it very differently than Tennessee too. They do it more like 2021 Tennessee.
Yes. And hey, Tyler Barron on both of those teams.
Good point. Tyler Barron, I thought it was a him thing getting held. No, it's just Tennessee's defensive line. Last year they would not call Tyler Barron. Like he got held every play. Wouldn't throw flags.
The Alabama game was egregious. The Alabama game for Tyler Barron on the road last year was awful. Like
there was one where his
it was egregious. Yes,
was stuck in the center of his pad, his sleeve, and I'm thinking, how do you look at that again going into officials? Like, how do you look at that and go, maybe I need to watch him closer on the next play? And I promise you, he got held the next play.
Goodness gracious, Caleb Mitchell, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.